Have with us tonight Gary Massey. Gary is a local insurance agent, handles our health insurance, and he's going to give us a report. He gave us a brief one the other day, and I think he's going to ask for a decision tonight. Gary, welcome. We appreciate you handling it for the last, how many years? 5 years. Thank you, Gary, for being with us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Board of Commissioners. It's always a pleasure to be here, and this year is no different. July 1 is the renewal date for our health and dental insurance, and we completed our negotiations with Cigna, and it would be my first recommendation that we remain with Cigna this year, the budget year of July 1, 2015 to June 30th, 2016. We had a pretty substantial spike in claims this year. Negotiations took a period of time. During our budget meeting the other night, I gave you all various options that were available, and it would be my recommendation tonight that we make 2 slight modifications to the existing plan in order to be as budget neutral as we can be and not increase the cost share substantially for the employee. The modifications will require board action because it effectively changes our plan with Cigna. So if you agree with the recommendations that I have, I will need a motion and a second and a vote, and that will then allow me to have the chairman execute the necessary papers with Cigna. The 2 modifications that I propose, and we're doing budget neutral compared to budget year July 1, 2014, June 30th, 2015, which we received a substantial reduction in our costs last year. So we're actually comparing it to the best year that we have had in the last probably 5 years. I have 2 modifications I would like to suggest. One is a pure administrative modification. It will be a change in the way certain diagnostic testing is approved and authorized. We had this same procedure in budget year 2010 and again budget year 2011, and we also had a slight form of it in 2013 and 14. The basic plan then would have this modification, and I propose that we increase the copay on our primary care physician plan by $5. And if we take these 2 into consideration, we will effectively reduce the cost of our increase from 4% to 1%. And I'll be happy to answer any questions or go over anything. Cigna continues to be a good partner for us. We have a very good wellness program going. They're once again willing to fund it with their usual contribution to us. And I will now answer any questions that I can answer for you.
Before I open it, let me make sure. So we've got 2 changes. One you referred to as pure administrative, and the other one was an increase of the copay by $5. And I believe you told me today 25 to 30.
25 to 30, and the copay only applies to the primary care physician. We're not increasing the copay to specialists. Once you get into the specialist area, we like it to leave it as it is.
Okay, so commissioners, when it comes time for that motion, maybe we can make sure we mention those 2 items. Anyone have a question? Comment? Commissioner Henderson and then Commissioner Douglas.
So otherwise, when you go to the doctor office, just a regular physician, then we are to pay $30.
Correct, sir.
Right, but so if I went to a specialist, it would remain $50.
Correct, sir.
Commissioner?
Mr. Chairman, I was just going to make a motion at the proper time. Mr. Chairman, I move that the county continue to use Cigna. I think I'm saying it right. Continue to use Cigna for providing health insurance for our employees.
With the 2 modifications, one for being pure administrative and the next being the increase in the copay from $25 to $30, a $5 increase. And since that's the motion, before we go any further, I wanted to mention one more thing Gary said to me today. We have not raised our employees' contribution toward that health insurance in how many?
As long as I've been here.
At least 5 years. I'm trying to hold that down for them.
And the last cost share was 2 years ago.
So we have a motion on the floor and a second. Absolutely, go ahead.
Are there any penalties if we don't approve this tonight? Are there any penalties? Are there any time-sensitive issues if we do not approve this tonight?
That could be correct. when you have a modification of the plan, it will require the chairman's signature and also requires new insurance cards be issued and the contract be changed to the mainframe system. It very likely could be a timing issue. There would not be a penalty, but it could be a timing issue on distributing new cards.
Which that means there may be a disturbance in employee coverage or paperwork, or
Very likely, if the employee went to the doctor with the existing card they have because the new one was not out, Cigna and most insurance companies, any plan change modifications they like by the first week of May, and because of the encumbrance of getting everything to the employees, and if you do that, they would then be going in with their other card, and the other card may not show valid, and it will show a different copay.
thank you.
Commissioner Schultz.
You know, I think this is probably one of the largest items of, aside from the sheriff's budget and some of the other big budget items, but this is an item that affects our employees, something that is part of the budget. I guess my concern is that with our employees, they're the glue that holds this organization together, and we have some major budget challenges coming before us, especially tomorrow night. And we must strive to make a balance between being good stewards of our tax dollars and maintaining our current level of employee benefits. There's no question that health insurance is one big, huge piece of that budget puzzle. I would like to make a substitute motion that we table this until the May 19th BOC meeting.
Hold on just a second. We got a motion. It's a substitute motion to table. And that was going to be 3 and 5. So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the substitute motion? Commissioner.
Tell me again, why are we going to table this?
Well, I just think that this is very important in terms of the whole budget puzzle. And I'm just not comfortable yet making this decision. I think that there's still a lot of pieces that we need to talk about, and we're going to have another budget meeting tomorrow night. I think this gives time for our HR director to meet with Mr. Massey. It gives time for us to make sure that we understand exactly how this is going to impact our employees, how it's going to impact our budget. And so I'd really like to table it until the May 19th board meeting.
Follow up, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
What does that do to our schedule?
The scenario would be if we waited until May 19th, we would run the risk of the cards not being prepared for the employees and the new contracts not quite being issued for the employees to have in their hands.
So if I was going to put you on the spot and ask you to make a recommendation, you would recommend we not wait?
The insurance company, and this is not just Cigna, the insurance guidelines are they like to have any changes in by the first week of May because of the encumbrance and because on July 1, the existing cards will be outdated. And if someone goes into a provider with an outdated card, it could lead to a situation where there's a breakdown in communication.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Massey, I want to tell you, me personally, we participate, my family participates in Cigna, and we are quite impressed with the coverage. And just as important, we are also impressed with you being the champion for the county. It's real important that we have local businesses supporting us. So I applaud your efforts. As far as how this component affects the overall budget, will tomorrow night's meeting, will it paint the picture that we need? The high view, the 30,000-foot view that incorporates the bigger picture?
I think tomorrow night we're going to try to present some summary information. We've heard from all the county departments now. Still waiting on the appropriations next week. But I do think we have a good feel for the impact that the requests are going to make on the budget and on the millage rate that Mr. Jordan mentioned. So I think you will have a little more information tomorrow. I mean, I think we've got we had last week the big budgets came through, and I don't know it's going to paint the picture you need. It was a loaded question, but I think there will be a good picture painted for you.
Commissioner Schultz.
Ooh, I didn't realize I had my microphone on the whole time. I too participate in the health insurance plan, and I think it's, I've been very pleased with Cigna. I've been very pleased with the product that Mr. Massey has brought to us over the years, and we've seen a decrease in our health insurance expenses for the county. This changes a little bit the dynamics in terms of the employee benefits, and I just want to make sure that before we enter into this arrangement that we have made sure that we are doing the right thing and that we're doing it with a mind for fiscal responsibility. I would hope that the fact that last week was the first time we'd heard this, that we would at least be granted the opportunity to wait until the May 19th board meeting to make a final decision.
Commissioner Douglas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The issue on the table right now is not whether or not we're going to adopt the insurance, but whether or not we're going to table it. That's what we're talking about right now. Gary has been, and his insurance company have been the model for the entire county government, in my opinion, on how things should work. And so if he's going to stand here tonight and politely tell us that, heck no, you better not wait, you need to get it done tonight, then, I'm going to take him for what he's saying. I have no reason, he's never given us any reason to doubt his sincerity and his expertise. And so if he tells us that waiting 2 weeks may create a problem, then in my mind, waiting 2 weeks may create a problem. So if we're going to go through and vote on whether or not to table this, I'm going to vote no.
Commissioner, after you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Tom, what was the increase that we're facing with the option that was presented tonight? Or maybe Gary probably can answer that quickly.
Yeah, if we adopt the two recommendations that I made, our increase, including the dental and health insurance over last year, and last year was the best rate that we had available in 5 years, the increase will be $78,198.24 based on the census numbers of April 15th. And recall from previous years, the census changes every day virtually with employees coming and going. So I've used the April 15th date. The April 15th date gave us 122 single, 401 family coverage, and our net increase based upon that census would be $78,198.24.
With that being said, I don't want to run a risk of jeopardizing anything with the employees' health benefits. But at the same time, I understand my fellow commissioners and their concerns dealing with the budget. I guess my question is if we can, I don't know if there's any way we can get the answers we need, I guess, from Tom over the next few days. Is there any way of executing this without waiting 2 whole weeks? If that satisfies those commissioners.
We could certainly make an arrangement for a special call meeting if we needed to, so we can convene. You could probably make a motion that would have that prerequisite in it also, that would include that. My question is, what's going to change between now and the next few days? I understand that questions may exist, but I don't know why they weren't provided before tonight. I'm totally caught off guard about the tabling, Gary. I didn't know anything about it. So I'm just wondering if we're really looking at, is it the fact that we're raising the copay 5% or by $5? Or are we looking at the $78,000 increase, or is there something else that we're looking to make an adjustment on? I'm really confused as what the questions are right now. So Commissioners, if you could share with me the reason for tabling as far as what question are you looking to get answered? Gary may have that for tonight. Is it our budget or is it insurance rates themselves? Commissioner Schultz.
I think Tom was going to.
Okay.
You know, I spoke with Mr. Douglas on the way in this evening, and, you know, if you commissioners haven't gotten any phone calls, I'd be surprised. Spent the last 4 days communicating with department heads requesting budget cuts, you know, and what we're requesting is, it varies a little bit. We've got a formula we're working on, but you know, all told, it's anywhere from 1.5% to 2.5% of their budgets. We're asking them to cut before we cut it, you know, and all that results, and that's the non-sheriff budgets. Since we just went through that this last week, we're still working on those, but you know, all that results in $250,000, $300,000. And it's difficult to find that money, that $250,000, $300,000. We may be able to find half of it before we start cutting employees. I know we spoke earlier tonight or earlier this afternoon with the chairman about the potential of giving a 1% raise to all the other employees that didn't get it the last month. Well, that would equate, if it was a 1% raise, that would equate to, for somebody making $16 an hour, it equates to $85 for 3 months. 3 months, $85. So, you know, I guess I'm just concerned if we've got $80,000 here and we're going to set that aside, that's another, I might have to go cut that from departmental budgets now. So my $350,000 I was trying to cut is now $430,000. And the $85 raise you just gave over 3 months, well, that's coming out $5 at a time every time they go to the doctor. So that's my concerns from a budget standpoint.
Okay. Commissioner Schultz.
So I guess the question is there another timetable if we didn't postpone it for the 2 weeks? Is there a shorter timetable that we could postpone it till we hear all the budget and give you some time to work through the budget? I mean, I'm comfortable with the 2 weeks, but it sounds like the rest of the board would like to have a little shorter time framework.
If the plan doesn't change, is any action required? That would be my question for Mr. Massey.
If your plan does not change, your rate increase will be 4% as opposed to the 1%.
Is there any action required from the board if the plan doesn't change?
If the plan does not change?
Yes, sir.
No.
Thank you.
But the increase will be different.
Okay. Well, I guess my next question, Gary, is what would it take to offset the $78,000 increase? What would
In changes in cost share, probably moving the copay with the specialist would offset some, altering the deductible would offset some as well. I can have, if you're going to have a meeting tomorrow night, I can have a definite, if you want the $78,000 eliminated, I can probably do that with about 2 steps.
Commissioners, is that the goal? I'm trying to understand. Is that our goal, or are we looking at something else that I'm not aware of?
I mean, I don't know if that was the goal with my fellow commissioners, but I'm always willing to save $78,000, so I say go with it.
Absolutely. Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, in other words, by cutting out the $78,000, that means that the co-payment goes from $30 maybe to $75 or $100.
I don't think it would be quite that much. The only way to reduce the cost would be to increase the cost share. And to move it, that was the reason the administrative one was so attractive, because it gave us a break without increasing the cost share. The way to move this will be to decrease either the co-pays or the deductible.
So, in other words, you could give the county employees a 2 or 3% raise. We're not going to merge, but you take it back by charging more on their insurance and adding more to it.
Sure.
Commissioner Douglas, I'm struggling to find, I know I had my notes from this afternoon, but they're on my desk. Go ahead.
I just want to endorse what Commissioner Henderson just said. Basically, what we're talking about now is, 5 minutes ago we were talking about a 1% pay raise for our employees. Now we're talking about cutting their pay. If we raise the deductible, we raise the copay. So, we're starting to get whiplash up here trying to figure out which way we're going to go. But, it goes back to what I said originally, that we have no reason not to have confidence in what Gary originally presented, and I still think that's the way to go.
Commissioner?
Okay, so I'm going to amend my substitute motion to give, because
Okay.
I am in healthcare, and I know that there are ways to work this to where it's advantageous to us as a board, it's advantageous to our citizens, and it's advantageous to our employees. And I would like to give the opportunity of Mr. Massey and Mr. Garrett and our HR director to sit down and work through this and then come back to us with a proposal. That's my revised motion.
And do you still want it on May 19th, or do you want it before that?
I would defer to when they can get it back to us as quickly as possible, before May 19th if possible.
I can have the numbers tomorrow night.
All right. Commissioner?
A procedural question. So, since we are having the budget meeting tomorrow night, can we go into regular session for 5 minutes to vote on this and then go back out of regular session?
As long as we've published it ahead of time, 24 hours, right? Correct? So we could actually have one tomorrow night, but I don't know if that's going to give you all enough time to do what you need. Checking the schedule. Yes, sir. Yeah, you're right.
I wonder if the board would consider approving the renewal of the Cigna policy subject to final approval by the county manager. Then you wouldn't have to, he could approve it tomorrow night. This board's work would be done.
That would be sweet if everybody would withdraw what they got at this point. Withdraw that original motion and make a new motion to that effect. We got some second people involved with this, but I would hope that they would be okay with doing that. All right,
So,
clear it off.
Are you withdrawing your substitute?
I will withdraw it if we will use Mr.
My
Craig's
motion is what
substitute.
Mr. Craig just said.
Okay. We got a motion, and we have a second. It's going to be, all right, we're going to clear this out. We're going to say that's 1 and 5. And that motion sounds to me like that we're going to go back to the original, we're going to renew the policy, so to speak, but we're not going to add those items to it. Y'all are going to discuss it, and it's going to be up to him to make a final decision on behalf of the commissioners. Everybody clear on that? We got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Oh, got one discussion. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Master, I just want to thank you for the years that you have came and to the best of your ability. And you live right here in this community. Brings back the very best from the insurance companies because you research all of them. And I think that takes a very special insurance man to come back and put it with us. So I thank you.
I want to be certain, one thing, I want to be certain I
Yes, sir.
understand. We're talking about the changes that affect $78,000, not deeper than the $78,000. Is that correct?
All minds believe that's what they were intending. We got a lot of nods, so yes, sir. Find the 78,000 somehow and make it appropriate as we can for the. We got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor? Do you have something?
Go ahead.
You sure? we got all in favor. Raise those hands one more time. All opposed? Okay, it's 5-0. Gary, I don't know how clear that was, but I hope it was clear. Commissioners, you have a long consent agenda, and I know you appreciate the fact that we'd have to go through these one by one if we were doing it the old way. Are there any items on the consent agenda that you'd like taken out and voted on separately? Commissioner.
Mr. Chairman, real quick, I don't have an issue with pulling anything out, but I did want to mention that, or kind of introduce Miss Heather Lewis as the District 5 appointment to the Senior Services Board. She's a mother of 2. I believe she's a full-time homemaker. Not sure if that's the appropriate word these days, but she's already had a tour with Miss Josephine, and she's very excited to apply some energy and new thoughts to their program. I think she'll be a great choice. Thank you.
Excellent. Would anyone like to add to the consent agenda? All right, at this time, Commissioners, I'd like a motion on the consent agenda with 3 and 4. Any further discussion? All in favor? That's unanimous.